The Congressional Budget Office released a report in February 2026 projecting that Social Security's main trust fund will run out of money in 2032. Not 2033, not someday, 2032. And if Congress does nothing between now and then, every single retiree in America, regardless of age, income, or how long they paid in, will face an automatic across-the-board benefit cut of roughly 24%. If you're collecting $2,000 a month right now, that becomes $1,520 overnight, with no warning. I'm Robert Caldwell, 30 years as a financial planner. I've watched this conversation play out for decades, politicians arguing, reports being released, deadlines getting moved around. But what's different right now is the timeline has gotten shorter, and recent legislation has made it shorter still. This isn't a problem for the next generation, it's a problem for people who are already retired or within 10 years of it. Today, I'm going to explain exactly what's happening, what it means in real dollar terms, and what you can do about it. Before we talk about what happens when it runs out, let me explain what the Social Security Trust Fund actually is, because a lot of people misunderstand this. Social Security is funded primarily by payroll taxes. Every time someone gets a paycheck, 6.2% goes to Social Security. Their employer matches it. Self-employed people pay the full 12.4% themselves. That money flows in constantly. For decades, the program collected more in payroll taxes than it paid out in benefits. The surplus was invested in Treasury securities, government bonds, and accumulated into what we call the trust fund. At its peak, that trust fund held nearly $3 trillion. It was a buffer, a cushion, extra reserves to cover shortfalls when they came. The problem is the shortfalls started coming in 2021, and they haven't stopped. Every year since, Social Security has been paying out more than it takes in, drawing down those reserves to make up the difference. The trust fund has been draining, and in 2032, under current projections, it hits zero. You may have heard 2033 before. That was last year's number. The CBO moved it up to 2032 in its February 2026 report, a full year earlier than previously estimated. Two pieces of legislation accelerated the timeline. First, the Social Security Fairness Act, signed in early 2025, eliminated two provisions that had reduced benefits for certain government workers. That expanded who gets paid and how much, adding roughly $200 billion in costs over 10 years. Second, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed in July 2025, reduced the taxation of Social Security benefits, which cut a revenue stream the program depends on. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that MOVE costs the trust fund approximately $169 billion over the next decade. Both laws were broadly popular. Both accelerated insolvency. That's where we are. Here's what depletion does not mean. It does not mean Social Security disappears. It does not mean your check goes to zero. People who say Social Security is going bankrupt are either confused or being dramatic. What it does mean is this: once the trust fund hits zero, the Social Security Administration can only pay out what it collects in real time from payroll taxes. Under current law, that covers roughly 77% of promised benefits. The other 23 to 24% gone, automatically. No vote in Congress required. No phase-in period. The law triggers the cut the moment the fund is depleted. Think of it like a checking account. Right now, Social Security is drawing on savings to supplement income. In 2032, the savings account is empty. From that point on, they can only spend what comes in, and what comes in isn't enough. Let me put real numbers on this. The average Social Security retirement benefit in 2026 is $2,071 a month. A 24% cut brings that to $1,574. That's $497 a month less, $5,964 a year less. For a typical couple, both collecting benefits, each averaging around $2,000, the combined annual cut is $18,400 a year. That's a number from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget based on their 24% reduction estimate. Under the CBO's own scenario, cuts would start at about 7% in 2032, around $145 a month for the average retiree, and deepen to an average of 28% per year from 2033 through 2036, reaching roughly $580 a month for someone on an average benefit. Anyone currently retired, anyone turning 62 in the next few years, anyone born in the late 1950s or 1960s. All in the window. This is not a distant problem for younger generations, this is your retirement. The options for fixing Social Security's finances are well known. They have been for 40 years. Every serious analysis points to the same menu. Raise the payroll tax rate, currently 12.4% combined, unchanged since 1990. Even a small increase extends the fund's life significantly. Lift the taxable earnings cap. In 2026, only income up to $184,500 is subject to Social Security tax. Earnings above that are untaxed. Lifting or eliminating that cap would generate substantial revenue, raise the full retirement age, effectively reducing lifetime benefits for future retirees. Adjust the benefit formula, reduce future growth for higher earners while protecting lower income retirees. Modify the COLA formula, slow the growth of benefits over time. None of these are easy. All of them require political will, and the longer Congress waits, the more painful any combination of fixes becomes. The 1983 reform that fixed Social Security for 40 years was passed 1 year before the trust fund ran out. We are now 7 years away. This is not the first time Social Security has been in trouble. In 1983, the trust fund was within months of insolvency. Congress passed a reform package, the Greenspan Commission recommendations, that included both benefit reductions and revenue increases. It worked. It kept the program solvent for 4 decades. The difference today is that we have more time than they did in 1983, but less than we had 5 years ago. And every year of inaction narrows the window and makes the eventual solution more painful. The program has been reformed before, it will likely be reformed again. But the timing and shape of that reform matters enormously to people who are already collecting benefits or planning to retire in the next decade. Here's the mistake I see people make when they hear this news. They either panic and make bad decisions, like claiming Social Security too early to get theirs before it runs out, or they dismiss it as political noise and do nothing. Both are wrong, claiming early locks in a permanently reduced benefit. If cuts do come, they apply to whatever your base benefit is. A smaller base benefit means a smaller post-cut benefit. Claiming early to beat a possible future cut almost always makes the outcome worse, not better. The right move is to plan for the scenario without assuming the worst will happen. Congress has fixed this before, but plan as if they might not, patios, meaning build a retirement income strategy that doesn't require your full Social Security benefit to survive. 3 concrete things you can do right now. First, delay claiming if you can. Every year past full retirement age adds 8% to your monthly benefit. A higher base benefit means a larger dollar amount even after a percentage cut. Delaying is your best hedge against a future reduction. Second, reduce reliance on Social Security as your only income source. The 2026 401k contribution limit is $23,500, with an additional $7,500 catch-up for those over 50. If you're between 60 and 63, a new enhanced catch-up provision allows up to $34,750 total. Every dollar saved outside Social Security is a dollar not at risk from trust fund depletion. Third, build lower fixed expenses before you retire. If your monthly bills require $3,500 to cover, and your Social Security check gets cut by $500, you're in crisis. If your bills require $2,200 and Social Security covers $1,600 of it, you have flexibility. The goal isn't to fear the cut, it's to make sure you don't need every dollar of your projected benefit to survive. 3 things to monitor over the next several years that will tell you how this plays out. Watch the annual Trustees Report, released each spring. The projected depletion date in that report will tell you whether the timeline is getting better or worse. A date that moves earlier year over year is a warning signal. A date that stabilizes or moves later suggests the finances are stabilizing. Watch legislative activity in Congress. Any serious bipartisan reform proposal, particularly one involving the payroll tax cap or the retirement age, is a signal that a fix is being negotiated. The 1983 reform came together quickly once political will materialized. The same could happen again. Watch your own retirement income math. Know your projected Social Security benefit. Know what 77% of that number looks like. Know whether your retirement plan survives that scenario. If it doesn't, you have time to adjust, but only if you start now. 3 steps. None of them require spending money. Step 1. Log into ssa.gov and check your projected Social Security benefit under My Social Security. Then calculate what 77% of that number is. That is your planning floor, the number your retirement needs to work without. Step 2. Check your other retirement savings. 401k, IRA, pension investments. Calculate roughly what monthly income those accounts could generate in retirement. If that number, plus a reduced Social Security benefit, still covers your essential expenses, you are in better shape than most. Step 3. If you are within 10 years of retirement and you have no plan other than Social Security, talk to a fee-only financial planner this year, not a salesperson. A fee-only fiduciary who is legally required to act in your interest. This is the time to build a plan, not after the trust fund hits zero. Social Security is not going away, but it may pay less. How much less and for how long depends on what Congress does over the next several years. What you can control is whether your retirement plan survives either outcome. That's what this channel is about. Every week we break down the information you need to protect what you've built. Subscribe. Next video, the Medicare Premium Trap that's quietly eating your 2026 COLA raise. I'm Robert Caldwell. Plan for the worst, hope for the best, and don't leave your retirement to chance.